The Denko Saga is one of the most well-known 2chan stories to have reached the English-speaking world, and also one of the most concerning. It began with a user asking for advice on a girl he had a crush on, and ended in absolute chaos. Let's investigate. If you enjoy internet mysteries and generally disturbing content, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can become a Ko-fi member or a channel member to gain access to uncut videos and other perks, or you can leave me a tip by clicking the thanks under this video. Thanks to anyone who considers this. This video will centre around harassment and stalking. Viewer discretion is advised. You can click the link in the description to become a Ko-fi member and watch a longer, uncut and ad-free version of this video which covers a whole extra story that was unsuitable for this cut. This video might make you feel worried about your safety, and while I can't stop a stalker from following you around or watching you through your bedroom window, I do have a recommendation to keep you safer online thanks to the sponsor of today's video, ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN encrypts and reroutes your network traffic through secure servers, meaning that your internet service provider can't log your activity and sell that data to advertisers and data brokers, which if you didn't know is totally legal in the US. It also prevents whoever owns the Wi-Fi router from seeing your browsing history, which is reassuring for me given the type of topics I research for my videos that, out of context, could maybe look like a serial killer or something. ExpressVPN also encrypts your traffic, protecting you from hackers and data thieves, which is a serious concern, particularly when using public Wi-Fi networks, which I often do. Thanks to its ability to connect up to 14 devices with one subscription, 24/7 customer support, consistently fast speeds, and Identity Defender feature which removes your data from data brokers and alerts you when your data appears on the dark web, ExpressVPN is arguably the best option to keep you safe online. And with the new tiered plans, you can get all these benefits for as little as $3.49 a month. That's just 12 cents a day. Find out how you can get up to 4 extra months by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description box below, or by going to expressvpn.com/internet investigator. Two-chan was basically the Japanese 4chan, though it actually predates 4chan, which was created as an English version. They're both message boards that are somewhat comparable to the likes of Reddit, though have significantly worse reputations. 2channel itself no longer exists and has since been rebranded to 5channel, but it was once described as Japan's most popular online community, and thanks to archives, you can still find a goldmine of disturbing content from that era. One such example is the Denko Saga, which is the topic of today's video. On the 6th of April 2011, there was a 2chan thread titled, "Help, the girl I like won't respond to my emails." The title contained an emoticon that is associated with shyness or sadness. The OP continued to use it in almost every post and comment he made after this. The post read, "There's this girl I've had feelings for since high school, and now we're in college together. We'll call her Denko. Once we hit second year, we went out drinking, and I worked up the courage to exchange numbers. We started out talking often, but she hasn't answered me in 3 days now. I'm getting depressed just thinking that Denko might be sick or that something happened to her. Please, somebody give me advice." This post itself isn't a massive red flag. Most people in this situation would assume Denko was either busy or simply wasn't interested in them. They probably wouldn't be posting about it on 2chan, but this guy is in his second year of college, so 18 or 19 years old, he likely doesn't have a lot of relationship experience. He probably got his hopes up about this girl and now he's worried she doesn't feel the same, so he turned to the internet for some guidance. Nothing too crazy, for now. The first reply to this post was in all capitals and simply read, "She doesn't like you, give it up." That comment should have literally been the only thing that anyone said throughout this entire saga, but of course OP didn't want to accept that. He replied, "Well, I called her too in case she was sick or something happened. Maybe this email I sent did something to hurt Denko's feelings. Give me your opinion here. Yahoo, good weather today. You haven't emailed me or called me, so I'm just sending this since I'm worried. Did I do something bad? P.S. The stars were pretty last night." Kinda cute, still pretty tame for now. Seems OP just really cares about Denko and wants to make sure she's okay. It quickly became clear that he had a pretty unhealthy level of consideration for her though when he revealed he hadn't slept for an entire day. He admitted that, unsurprisingly, he hadn't had much experience talking to girls, but he'd had his eye on Denko since high school and he thought the feeling might be mutual. When asked what made him fall for her and why he thought she felt the same, he said, "Denko helped me out when I was being badly bullied in high school. Denko's smart and kind, so she was like everyone's role model. When I sat next to her in class, I often borrowed her notebooks and erasers and we became friends. We made eye contact a lot in class too." Obviously this objectively gives no indication that Denko is actually into OP as anything more than friends. She's probably just a kind-hearted person. And as one of the commenters said, they probably made eye contact because he was staring at her. But I'm sure many people can relate to how he feels to some extent, especially at that age. He doesn't have the maturity or experience to understand how to navigate his feelings, and being in a situation like that for the first time can make it all feel way deeper and more serious than it would having feelings for someone in your 20s or 30s when you've already been in relationships before. I'm still sure the vast majority of people even at his age would have handled it much better than he did though. In response to a comment asking what kind of emails OP was sending, he replied, "At first, we just talked about how strange it was we only started emailing in college despite being in the same year of high school. What I'm sending, well, I'm worried about her lack of replies, so I've sent her around 600 emails. They're mostly reports on my current mental state, I guess." Yeah, you heard that right. 600 emails. The sheer number is alarming enough, but the way he just casually drops that in like it's a totally normal thing to do is wild. He revealed in the next comment that he doesn't have any friends, so people on 2chan are the only ones he can ask about this, which makes a lot of sense. This is why I think it's so important to have a solid group of friends that you can confide in and spend time with outside of a relationship, dating, or even a crush. Most people without friends aren't going to go to the lengths of sending 600 emails to a girl they like, but they likely will become too invested too quick and too reliant on that person to feel okay. A relationship should be part of your life, not your whole life. It may even be the biggest part of your life, and that's fine, but you need other things going on outside of it. Even if things were to progress with OP and Denko, which at this point he'd need a miracle for, she'd likely be his only source of happiness, and if they got together then broke up, I don't know how he'd ever get over it. He also talks about being bullied at school and how Denko helped him during that time, so that likely contributes to a lot of this. OP's next comment revealed what kind of emails he was sending, quote, 600 emails and still no reply, so I'm really thinking something might have happened. And I really don't think they're anything that would displease her. They're like this. I'm drinking jasmine tea right now, thinking about what to have for dinner. Maybe they're a bit too incidental. Yeah, maybe the emails are too incidental, that's why she's not replying. Definitely not the fact that he sent 600 of them. His lack of self-awareness is honestly astounding, and it's only emphasised when he says soon after that he only sent around 50 emails in the first 2 days, as if 50 isn't bad enough. I don't even get how someone has the time to send that many emails, even if they don't realize how creepy it comes across. OP gave a couple of examples of how their conversations went when Denko was still replying, which are honestly just ridiculous. Quote, "Me, what do you do for fun? What do you listen to? I like watching lots of movies and reading lots of books, I guess." Denko, I dunno. You sure use a lot of emoticons, huh? That sort of thing. Me, do girls do the thing where you turn socks inside out to use them for a week? Denko, no, that's too dirty. I usually wash them after a day. Me, well, Denko's socks can't possibly be dirty, unlike mine. Denko, do you really wear the same socks for a week? Me, no, I heard about it from a friend. Like that. At this point, I wouldn't blame you one bit if you were convinced OP is just trolling. Obviously, we will analyse it more at the end, but already it just seems too ridiculous to be true. Then again, by the end of the story, you might be thinking it's too ridiculous to fabricate. Whether or not any of this actually happened though, it's not like people like this don't exist. They absolutely do, and I've met some. Not only people who struggle socially and don't know how to have what most would view as a normal conversation, but also people who become obsessed with someone they like and bombard them with messages. I've even experienced that. One example is when I got introduced to this guy a few months ago, spent a couple of hours with him in a group of people, made the mistake of giving him my WhatsApp number. I replied to his first few messages in a friendly way, but then it just got weird. He'd send multiple messages every day when I didn't reply, and a few weeks after I stopped replying, he was still going. When I finally blocked him, he'd sent 43 messages that I'd never even opened. This is a long way off 600 emails, but bear in mind I met this guy one time for literally no more than 2 hours. OP had known Denko for years and confessed to being in love with her, so is it really beyond the realm of possibility that he would send so many more? He also admitted at one point that he'd played a lot of dating simulation games, but had no idea how to handle three-dimensional women. In such games, you need to repeatedly do things to get your score up, and eventually the sim will fall in love with you, and it seems like OP didn't realise that that's not how it works in real life. Many users were calling him out for being creepy, though it didn't seem to sink in, and some were even trolling him and encouraging him to take it further, which certainly didn't help the situation. They convinced him to call her, and it sounds like she actually answered, but he got nervous and panicked, so hung up on her. I wonder if he called her from a different number or just hid his number when he called. I'm not sure why she would have even answered after not replying to his 600 emails. Anyway, he ended up emailing her once again, saying he shouldn't have hung up, but his heart wasn't ready. After someone suggested he invite her to go see the cherry blossoms, he replied, "I talked with Denko, and I invited her to see the cherry blossoms. Apparently her schedule was packed at work, so she said some other time. Oh well, still good news. Gotta buy some clothes now. Hurry, hurry." I accidentally told her about how I was sweating really bad, haha, and she said she was sorry she was too busy to reply to my emails. For now, I'm glad Denko is safe. I was worried what might happen since I'm so bad at talking to girls, but I guess I managed. In another comment, OP shared exactly what Denko's reply was, quote, "I'm not really sure what to say, but sorry I was too busy to reply to your emails. My schedule is probably too packed to see the cherry blossoms this year. Crying emoticon. Oh, also, I saw your brother on TV again. He's a former actor. My friend says she wants to go drinking with your brother, me and you. What do you think?" Once again, there's no indication from this reply that Denko has any interest in being anything more than friends with OP. Some users even suggested she might be more into his brother, but of course we can't really tell from that message alone. Either way, OP hears what he wants to hear, ignores any signs of her lack of interest, and assumes that email means Denko must be into him. Anyway, OP couldn't find a way to contact his brother since he changed his address and number, which is a bit strange in itself, but he never goes further into that. After this, OP messaged Denko asking if she thought he was scary, to which she replied, maybe a little scary. He somehow couldn't fathom why she thought that, but replied with, "Sorry to scare you, but don't misunderstand. I just want to be friends, Denko." Soon after, OP changed his mind and decided that it was time to confess his feelings to Denko. He wrote her yet another email saying the following. Subject, to Denko. Thinking on it now, our meeting was a cherry blossom blooming in high school, and now it's spring again just the same. Before I met you, Denko, I felt like I was in a cold winter, but in the spring, you put a bud in my heart that would bloom into a great flower. It's been so long since we were in high school together, but my feelings are just the same as they were that spring. You've helped me when I was bullied, haven't you, Denko? Back then I thought, why does this girl not have the wings an angel should have? I suppose you must have left them in your mother's stomach. Even when we met eyes, I didn't have the courage, and we could never talk to each other, but now I'm different. Denko, I know you may not want to marry me yet, but please go out with me. Needless to say, the plan didn't work. Quote, I got an email from Denko. I'm too scared to open it. I guess now I know why everyone said I was scary. This is making me super tense. I'll go wash my face, then look at it calmly. I think I might just have a heart attack. She said, sure. Is this okay? Really? I'm so happy I could cry. This is okay, right? I'm so stunned. I need your opinion. She followed it up with, don't email me anymore. What's this? And here I thought I knew her feelings. Maybe dating was too sudden. It's hard for me to tell what girls are trying to get at. Is there someone else? Is this the fickle heart of a woman at work? What's the intent of this email? Someone interpret it. Unsurprisingly, this still wasn't enough for OP to give up and leave Denko alone. He even suggested she might be testing him. This really highlights how differently the mind of a stalker can operate. Most normal people would take, don't email me anymore, as a pretty clear sign that someone isn't interested, and they'd accept it, but a stalker just can't accept that and move on. Whatever mental gymnastics they have to do to convince themselves that it's a game or a test, they'll do. Even if they somehow accept that the person doesn't feel the same right now, they can't lose hope that they won't change their mind in the future. And when they finally do lose hope, that's sometimes when things take a much more dangerous turn. OP tried to call Denko after her email, but there was no answer. Then he decided to go to her house. She wasn't in, but her mum answered, who was apparently very nice and invited him in. He claims they spoke for hours until she eventually told him she would call him when Denko comes home. This thread eventually reached the maximum number of replies, so he started another titled, Help, I can't contact my girlfriend. The first post read, I don't have any romantic experience, so I'm not too sure, but this girl I just started dating yesterday emailed me saying not to email her, and now I can't get a hold of her. What do you think it could be? Was there an incident? Is she cheating? Did she have an accident? Is she testing me? Like I said, I'm not experienced, so please give me advice. In response to a user asking if OP is sure they were dating to begin with, he replied, No, we're definitely dating. I've been in the same class as her since high school, and we went to the same college and became friends over email, and just yesterday we started dating. I've never been on a date with a girl before, so I'm not sure what to think. I think you get the gist of this guy's level of delusion in his messages, so I'm just going to summarize this thread with less direct quotes. OP asked if there's some way he can force Denko to contact him, then he acknowledged that the 600 emails he sent might have been a bit excessive. He then decided to wait for her at a cafe near her house because it's on the only route she can take on her way home. He thought about waiting right outside her house, but then decided against it because it might look stalkery. It didn't take much for other users to convince him to go to her house, which he did, and rang the doorbell, but no one answered. He thought she might have been in the bath, and since they haven't kissed yet, breaking in and seeing her naked would be rude, so instead he just left a note in her mailbox. After Denko sent him an email asking if he was at her house, naturally he thought the best course of action was to go back, and this time her mum answered the door and told him she'd call the police if he came again. This still didn't discourage him, and he called her again before deciding to go back to her house once again. But this time he didn't knock on her door, he just walked around looking for a bedroom window. At some point, Denko looked out and their eyes met. She shouted her mum and he left. Shortly after, Denko sent him an email, quote, "Don't call me or email me anymore, please. I'm sorry, but I'm really scared. If there's been a misunderstanding, then I apologize, but this is my last email. Please don't contact me again. I'm begging you." I don't think she could have been any clearer here, but still OP is asking what the email meant and what she wants to become of their relationship. He then shared his reply, quote, "I'm sorry for making you worry. I would never consider killing or raping you, Denko, so don't worry. Is that what you thought I would do? Now I want you to take what I'm saying seriously. I really truly love you, Denko. I think I would be willing to die for you, Denko. I've always been trying to ensure your happiness first, and I don't think my feelings for you will ever change. It's very unfortunate things got like this right after we started dating, but we can start over. That would be great, wouldn't it? Remember what I said when I confessed to you? I still feel the way I did back then." Of course, the best way to put a woman's mind at ease is to tell them you definitely would never consider killing or essaying them. That should fill them with confidence. He thought it was a good idea to make that clear after a friend told him that Denko was seriously afraid he will murder her someday. At this point, I fear there is literally nothing Denko could say or do to get through to OP. He just doesn't want to believe that she isn't interested, so no matter what, he'll deliberately misinterpret everything she says to fit his narrative. Thankfully, after this, Denko changed her phone number and email address, but unfortunately, that still didn't stop OP. He bribed one of her friends to give him her new details with 60,000 yen, which would have been around $700 at the time. Crazy amount of money. I'm not sure if he actually meant to put 6,000, which would be a bit more reasonable, but he later revealed his parents were pretty well off, so it wasn't an issue anyway. After emailing her from his address and her ignoring him, he emailed her from a different address pretending to be her friend for a while, but she eventually guessed it was him. He also started going to her house at night to watch her window to see what time she goes to sleep. He decided to pay her friend for more information and found out she planned to go to the park next day to see the cherry blossoms, so of course he decided to go too so he could watch her from afar while she's distracted. He actually specified the name of the park in his comment, as if Denko isn't already in enough potential danger from him. Now a bunch of 2chan Anons know where she's going to be on a specific day. In the next thread titled, "Help, my girlfriend is testing me," OP revealed that he had gone to basically ambush Denko at the park, quote, "Sorry I'm late with my report. I was successful in coming into contact with Denko on Friday, but a bunch of other things happened. First, I paid Denko's friend 20,000 yen to make sure my plan went smoothly. I asked her to request Denko to go buy alcohol, and then finally, I saw Denko again. I didn't want to suddenly call her, so to display my passion as her boyfriend, I snuck up behind her and hugged her. Denko's body felt so warm. It might have just been the best moment of my life. I don't think I'm going to wash these clothes so I don't forget. Denko was surprised too and let out a really loud shriek and ran, but I wasn't going to have that again. I grabbed her arm so she couldn't run, because I wanted to hear her true feelings. Denko was really hollering, so her friends got worried, and she said she was going home for the day, and they all told me not to come near Denko again. I hope she replies soon. So this is all incredibly messed up, but sadly not surprising at this point. Things took an interesting turn when someone claiming to know Denko started commenting in the thread, quote, "Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused Tendu? You need to apologize to Tendu for everything, now." OP replied, "You know Denko's nickname. Are you from school?" The other user answered, "Oh, I know her name, first and last, but this isn't any time for you to be interrogating me, you creep. You need to realize the way you push your smug goodwill and shows of affection on her without even considering her feelings is the worst kind of violence. If you don't get that, then you're beyond all help." This clearly made OP angry, and he replied in all capitals saying he'd never forgive them for saying things about him and Denko, and that he swears he'll find them. This person then accused OP of groping Denko, so he decided to tell the full story in his words, with hopes of making it sound better. I'll read it now. Bear in mind that Eiko is the friend who has been selling OP information about Denko. After stuff happened, I got called by Eiko, who was headed to Yoyogi Park as planned, but the place was pretty large, so I couldn't find the place she told me to go to. All she wrote that it was a hilly place in Yoyogi Park. But eventually I found the hilly place, and of course Denko was there. I watched with a telescope and waited for a chance when she wouldn't see me. I thought Eiko was going to have Denko go to the store, but she suddenly said she wouldn't do it unless I paid an additional 30,000 yen. So of course I promised I'd pay 30,000 more, and she sent Denko to the store alone. There was a road for bikes near where Denko was, but Denko looked toward me for some reason, and I impulsively got down on the ground. So then Denko found me on the cycling road. She looked back my way once or twice, then she ran with incredible speed towards me while I was squatting. And I thought, maybe I've cleared up the misunderstandings, stood up immediately and waved at Denko as she ran toward me. So I was waving at Denko, waiting for her to come this way, but then Denko threw a bag at me really hard, and I ducked to dodge it. But in the moment, Denko screamed and kicked me right in the chin. It was so unlike her, it absolutely stunned me. I never would have dreamed I'd get kicked by Denko, so I quickly grabbed Denko's hand to stop her rampaging, right? Since it was just a misunderstanding. So Denko was getting violent and I grabbed her hand, but she screamed really loud. I immediately thought, oh no, she misunderstood me again, so I got on the ground and started apologizing. I think it got through to Denko because then she broke down crying. But then Eiko, the one who gave me info on Denko, came with some other girl I don't know, and they suddenly pushed us apart. So they shouted at me, calling me a pervert, and even Eiko told me, don't get any closer to Denko. It's not something I expected at all. It made me cry from shock. And when Denko asked what I want from her, I was sobbing and saying I just wanted us two to talk. Then it was silent for a while, and Denko said that as long as Eiko and Blank were watching, she would listen. And then I realized, right, I had to confess under the cherry blossoms. So then I led Denko under a cherry blossom within sight of Eiko and the mystery girl. Then I casually pushed Denko from behind under the tree. I wanted to talk about my feelings and how Denko was misunderstanding me. Of course, I was thinking all of these things to say to lead up to confessing to Denko, and I was sweating so much it was getting in my eyes, so Denko gave me a handkerchief. But the next moment, Denko suddenly said, before I could confess, there's someone I like, and I'm sorry, but it isn't you. It was so out of left field, like I'd been suddenly hit with a baseball bat. Denko told me, if you're really thinking about me, please consider how I feel. So I was glad to hear that Denko knew I thought about her more than anything else, but I really despised this guy that Denko liked. I'll have to get info on him from Eiko. I never considered for a second Denko would care for anyone but me, so it was a huge shock. So Denko shook my hand, made me promise not to come near her again, and we went home. can't even imagine how terrified Denko must have been throughout this entire situation. Imagine just being nice and trying to help your classmate in school who's being bullied because you're a nice person, and it all results in this. Them sending you 600 emails, calling you, showing up at your house, watching your bedroom window, paying your friend for information about you, following you outside. Unsurprisingly, even this interaction didn't put a stop to OP's obsession. However, after some time, his focus began to switch. He found out that Denko doesn't actually have a boyfriend, and when he asked Eiko for some advice, he suddenly realised that maybe she was jealous, and perhaps she was only selling him information just because she wanted to talk to him all along. You might wonder if this is yet another of OP's delusions, but what happened next will shock you. To cut a long story short, he confronted Eiko with this suggestion and asked her if she wanted to date him, and she accepted. This likely wasn't the happily ever after he was hoping for though, since she told him he wasn't allowed to tell anyone, he was forbidden from contacting her if she doesn't contact him first, and she demanded he buy her a substantial amount of clothes in exchange for some kind of physical contact. Given this started out as OP paying her for information and progressed to him basically paying her to be his girlfriend, it seems she almost definitely didn't have any feelings for him and actually just wanted money. OP and Eiko ended up having unprotected physical contact, which then led to concerns that she might be pregnant, though he hadn't yet asked her about it. Shortly after this bomb had been dropped, the thread died, and that was it. The story ended on a cliffhanger. So did any of this actually happen, or was it the vivid imagination of a troll with too much time on their hands? I personally lean towards it being fabricated, but you never know. Someone claiming to know Denko did briefly appear in the thread, but that could have been OP trying to make it all seem more believable. I would have thought if it was OP, he would have made the anonymous comments more interesting or detailed though. They did kinda come across more like genuine comments that a friend of Denko's might have actually posted, rather than OP pretending to be them. It's also worth noting that this saga took place from the 6th of April to the 2nd of May, almost a whole month. That's a lot of time to sink into a fake story for no apparent benefit, but people have done stranger things. As I said before though, whether or not this story is actually true, things like this do happen and people like this do exist. Sometimes when faced with such creepy confessions online, it's easier to convince ourselves it must have been fake so as to avoid the realization that it could happen to any one of us. For Denko's sake, if she even exists, I really hope none of this ever happened, but ultimately we'll likely never know for sure. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts in the comments, plus any other topics you'd like me to cover in the future. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Huge thank you to my Ko-fi members and channel members whose names are on screen now. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in a new video.